Welcome to the R Spot. I am Iyanla Vanzant. If this is your first time at the R Spot, I encourage you to get a pen and some paper so you can take notes. I also invite you to subscribe to the Iyanla Vanzant YouTube channel so you will receive a notice every time we put up a new R Spot episode. For all of the return visitors, I hope and pray that you are discovering things that you can use in your life and relationships to make them better, more fulfilling, and more loving. Today's episode is one that I promised to do. It's about the children who become collateral damage when a relationship breaks up or breaks down. In way too many instances, children become tools and pawns between feuding and fighting parents. This subject may need to be 3 or 4 or 5 episodes. However, I'm going to do my best to make this information as clear, concise, and complete as possible in this episode. I also want to say up front and very clearly that it is not my intention to make anyone wrong. Whether you left the relationship or were left in a relationship, I'm not making you wrong. My sole intention here is to speak on behalf of the children. I'm offering all of us as parents things to think about and consider when we are in the midst of a relationship that is broken or is breaking down. I know this situation. I've lived it, I've walked it. I had 3 different children by 3 different men, and none of them chose to be involved with the children when our relationship ended. Now, what I know now, what I learned, what I didn't know then, was that it was not about the children. Their absence, their abandonment of the children, their lack of commitment and involvement with their children was a reflection of their relationship with me. We did not have good, solid, strong, or even a healthy or loving relationship. All I did was had children with them. It's just that simple. And while they were not bad people, what I know now is that they were broken men who did not know how to be fathers. This is very, very commonplace. So it's important that whether you're the mother or the father, that you understand when a relationship breaks down, some people do not have the capacity to be who they need to be to their children. What I discovered was that I should have paid a little more attention before I had children. I forgave myself and adjusted accordingly without making their fathers wrong in my children's eyes. But what I now know is trying to make a wounded boy behave like a man so that he can father his children is never going to turn out well. I accept full, total, and complete responsibility for my behavior in choosing men who were not relationship material or qualified to be fathers. Now, I know there are a myriad of circumstances and situations that are like mine and that are not like mine. My point is, when there is a breakdown in the relationship where children are involved, the nature of the parenting relationship will be a function and a reflection of the nature of the relationship in which the children were born. I'm just saying, I want to acknowledge that there are those instances where relationships break down and one or both partners lose their ever-loving minds and begin to act like purity fools. But we're going to leave that alone for right now. As a result of my own experience, my personal philosophy has become secure the children first. Secure the children first. And my hope is to offer you a means to do just that, to secure the children, to keep them physically, emotionally, and spiritually safe. You must always consider and advance their needs and concerns above your anger or hurt or disappointment. That means you've got to be willing to create and maintain a nurturing, peaceful environment for them as the adults in the relationship shifts. And you've got to give them the tools and skills that they will need to navigate 2 relationships now, one with the father and one with the mother. Now, here is what I know. This is what I've seen. This is what I've lived through as a child and what I watch my grandchildren live through. When the adult relationships break down and the fight for power and control over the children takes precedence over the children's needs, there are going to be some very sad children. When adults separate or end a relationship in upset and anger, more often than not, the children become the weapons they use to hurt one another and the tools they use to manipulate one another. This must end. When adults do not have closure and completion in their relationship, when things are left unsaid or unsettled, one or both of the parents will use the children to punish each other. And finally, the unfinished business between the parents often becomes a landmine that the children must walk through in order to have a relationship with both parents. So here's how we're going to approach this. There's an ancient African saying that when the elephants fight, the grass suffers. Take a look at this photo. Here we have a blade of grass growing among hard, broken concrete. Now, grass is sturdy and hardy, just like our children. Grass will grow anywhere, under any conditions, just like our children. And as we can see in the photo, the grass will find a way to grow up and rise up regardless of the condition. However, grass in a well-kept garden has a much better chance of thriving and staying healthy than grass growing between hardened concrete that has been destroyed by fighting elephants. This grass in the broken concrete stands a much better chance of being stepped on and crushed down because of the environment in which it is growing. The same is true of the children who become the collateral damage between fighting, broken parents. Now, when you are ending a relationship where children are involved, my coaching to you is again, secure the children first. How? Do what is required to keep them mentally and emotionally safe. That means talk to them. That means do not fight and argue in front of them. That means make their needs and concerns more important than the upsets between the adults. That means create an environment where they can have two healthy relationships, one with each parent where there was once one. I want to raise a subject here that I'm sure will ruffle some feathers, but again, I'm not making anyone wrong. I'm just offering you things to consider. We live in a society that more often than not places the mother's paternal rights over the father's paternal concerns, desires, and sometimes his rights. More often than not, when a relationship breaks down, most people in the world and the courts will assume that it is best for the children to remain with the mother, and her requests, desires, needs, etc. are more often than not given more weight and credence than the father's. Let's say we have a marriage or a relationship, a two-parent home that's being separated. The children have seen their father daily. He has had a voice in their lives. However, now that the relationship is ending, he gets to visit once per week, or in severe cases, not at all. Or if he calls, he cannot speak to the children. Or when he comes around, he is faced with anger and contempt. Or in his absence, the primary caring parent has a lot to say about him or says nothing about his absence. This does not make the children feel safe, nor does it plant the seeds for a healthy relationship with the parent who is leaving the home. I can imagine that right now there are mothers who are screaming in their heads or at the screen about the fathers who do not come around, or the ones who say they're coming and never show up, or the fathers who refuse to provide financial support, and those who engage in all manner of bad behavior with their former partner and the children. Rest assured, I am not talking about those fathers. They'll be the subject of another episode. I am addressing the men who want to be involved in their children's lives. However, because of the reasons behind the breakup or the nature of the breakup or because of unfinished business with the mothers, those mothers block, withhold, and deny the father access to their children. Remember, when the elephants fight, the grass suffers. Even when the relationship falls apart because one party, the father or the mother, was a cheater, a liar, a gambler, a drunkard, or any other manner of wonderfulness, no parent should be denied access to their children simply because they are no longer a partner in the adult relationship. Now here's the caveat. As long as they are responsible and will keep the children safe, it is inappropriate to block, deny, or withhold the children from the parent who is leaving the home. Note to file, as long as you know they will keep the children safe, do not withhold the children from the parent who is leaving the home. Take that in and take a breath. Let it settle in your mind. Because I know there are many people who cannot hear that, who do not want to hear it. But I am holding to the philosophy, secure the children. Secure their hearts, secure their minds, and secure a good, solid, loving relationship with the parent who is leaving. And finally, for today's episode, I want to coach and encourage you out of power struggles and control issues that arise when co-parents are struggling for a place in their children's lives. When a relationship ends and there are children involved, each parent has the right to move on with their lives. Each parent has the right to establish a home and a place for the children in that home. Each parent has the right to enter and engage in new relationships, and each parent must learn to communicate, cooperate, and compromise in the new environment in order to secure the children and co-parent responsibly. That will be the subject of our next episode: compassionate, cooperative co-parenting among responsible adults. Secure the children first. Clean up your unfinished business. Put your hurt aside and the needs of the children first. Now I hope you've heard something in this episode that you can use or that at least you'll talk about. Until next time, stay in peace and not in pieces.